Yes?
I wanted to say it has been interesting. I've really learned a lot, and then yes, the videos are helping. Going back to watch it, although there are still some challenges with linking data because of foreign key amidst tables. I
Okay,
think that's
I think we'll start from there today again, linking tables together. Right? I think I'll pinpoint that again today, then we'll continue from there.
okay,
Right?
sir.
I think it's a general issue with everyone. Right? We'll start from there again today, then we'll continue from there. All right. Thank you for sharing. God bless you.
So can we just like solve the assignments here in class?
Okay. Okay. I would not solve the assignments in class, or better still. Okay. What's the best approach now? Okay. Let me go through it again. Let's see. Hold up 1 minute. Hold on. I'm trying to go through the question again. All right. I'll use a solution. I see somebody's solution here that is really interesting, and I'm going to use that. So instead of writing the codes once again, I'll just use our solution. So, hold on. Let me just go through the questions again so that I'm sure. All right. Okay. So we said that we should, let me see. I think somebody sent me code about this. Hold on. All right. So I see a solution that we can really use here. And we're going to use that. All right. So the person who owns the solution should be glad. I'm proud of how neat the code is, and Don't worry, I'll share my screen so that you can see now. All right, please let me know if you can see my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see.
Yes, we see it. I can see it.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, sir. I can see your
Thank you.
screen.
All right. All right. So the first assignment was we're supposed to interpret and interpret a relational, an ER diagram, sorry. Supposed to interpret this ER diagram, patients, doctors, admissions, and province name, right? So let's see how this person has solved that, right? So just pay attention. All right, so this person created a schema, right, to house that database, which is really interesting. So I'm going to go right there. I'm going to do that right away. I'm going to create that. Right, so we have the hospital schema, which I do not have before. So we're going to engage that hospital schema, right? The schema is available and online now, right? So we're creating this table called doctors. That's one of the tables that has a doctor ID as the primary key, first name, last name, and specialty, right? And we'll move to the next table, which is the admissions, right? And this table is supposed to contain the patient ID, which is unsigned references, patient ID. Okay, I'll see what this person is doing here. Hold on. Oh, okay. All right, so this person created, let me create it in the order so that it can work well. So instead of running, I see what this person is doing here. So instead of creating, so there's an order to creating these tables, right? Which is where the reference comes in, right? So this person created the doctor's table, right? Then the patient's table comes after. So I'm going to create that. Right, so the patient ID is the primary key, first name, last name, gender, birthday, city, provincial ID or province ID, allergies, height, and width, right? Then we can now create the admissions, right? Now, this person is creating a reference on the admissions table that the patient ID is referenced to the patient's table, right? The patient ID is referenced to the patient's table. And also, of course, the attending doctor ID is coming from the doctor's table as well. So if you run this statement now, right, you're creating the third table with references. We'll see that. Let's look at this first. Hold on. Admissions. All right, admissions as executed. Really nice. And I think the last one is the province, right? The province name, right? So we have 4 tables now, right? So to be smart about it, let's reverse engineer that table or this database to see the model. Let's see if the model fits exactly what we have. I've taught you how to do this, reverse engineering your data model, right? So you go to database, right? On your menu, you go to database, then you go to reverse engineer, right? From there, you click on next, just follow through next. Then you click on the schema that you want to build the model on, next, then execute. So it's just the next process, then finish. All right. So even though this person created the tables, right? I wanted to confirm how the person named the foreign keys and you will discover that the references are not working because they are not reflecting in the model, right? But the person got the idea right. See, oh, sorry, I closed that. Let's go back again to that. Sorry, mistakenly closed that. Right, so you can see the 4 tables: province name, admissions, and doctors, right? Those are the 4 tables that you have in this schema, right? Basically, let's do this. Let's put admissions here. Let's put doctors here. Let's put province here. I'll put patients here, right? So you see coming. All right, so you see the table here. You see what we have, right? The indexes are on each of the tables. Can you see? This has a primary key index. This has a primary key index. And this has how many index now? This has 2 indexes, right? It has the patient ID, patient's ID index and the primary key index, right? So you can see, okay, some way, somehow this table is joined to itself. I don't know. Where did they specify that relationship? We'll look into it. Okay. The patient's ID. All right. So this person created this, right? So basically, in terms of, I hope you're following me. In terms of creating the table, right? I'll give this person, say 80. In terms of creating the tables, right? But the relationships are not created yet, right? We'll delete one of those relationships that we have there. The relationships are not created yet. So we'll look at how to create the relationships. But let me show you, right, what's a table that has its relationships, all its relationships, right? Let me show you what it looks like. And that will be the HR schema, right? I've showed you this multiple times, right? Let's go down. All right, so I'm going to show you I'm going to reverse engineer this database so that you can see what I'm talking about, right? The relationships have to what? Have to, you have to be able to show the relationship. So you go to next, execute. All right, finish. Right, can you see the relationships now? This is what I am talking about, right? You can see the relationships amongst them. And I'll show you where these relationships were created, right? I'll show you where they are created, and I'll set a rule of thumb for you so that you understand what we do and how we do those things so that you can get the hang of it, right? I'll show you that very soon, right? So you can see all the tables and their relationships, right? All the tables and their relationships, right? So you can see how these tables are linked together like a train rack, right? But let's go back to that HR model. Right, I've told you, look at it. I hope you're paying attention. Please let me know if you're paying attention. Right, so look at it. All the tables were created. Now, this is how you create your database, right? This is how you create your database. You create your tables. The first thing is that you create your schema. In your schema, you have identified all the tables. You create all the tables, all of it, with their primary keys, but don't attach foreign keys yet. Right, with only the primary keys. You create them with only the primary keys, right? So these tables, all the tables were created, right? All the tables were created. Then they inserted into all the tables, right? You insert after you've created all the tables. You insert into the tables after you've created all the tables, right? That is in the development stage of the table, right? You insert into all of it. Can you see? You insert into all of it. Then once that is done, right, you commit that transaction and you now alter. So basically, when we're creating a database, what we add last is the foreign key. Remember that the foreign key is what references the primary key of a table, as on another table, right? So you can see that they all have alter table, right? Look at these statements now. Alter the table countries, add foreign key on region. So the countries table has region, has region ID. And you're saying reference regions what? Region ID, right? So you have to add all your constraints at the end of the day. So let me just copy this so that we can use it to alter the table that this my good person has created. All right, so this person has inserted into all the tables, right? This person has inserted into all the tables. All right, so I'm just going to say, so first constraint is that, let's see. Let me check the image. All right, so primary ID is linked to patient's ID of patient's table is linked to the patient's ID on the admissions table. So in a one-to-many relationship. So let's look at how to do that. So we say alter table. What's that table now? Alter table. Let me check it again. 1 minute. Let me just jot it down so that I can have a mental picture of it. Patient ID, PK, and patient ID, FK on admissions. That's one. Province ID. On province name, primary key, referenced as foreign key on patient. Then we have doctor's ID, primary key, foreign key on admissions. So we only have 3 relationships amongst this table, right? So let's create those relationships right away. Let's create those relationships right away, right? So the first one is that we are creating alter table admissions. Let's admissions. The admission or admissions. Admissions, okay. Alter table admission. Add foreign key on what? Doctor ID. Right? Let's break it down. Let's break it down. Alter table admissions, add foreign key doctors. So this references the doctors table, right? And the doctor ID. I'm going to explain so that you understand the doctor ID from the doctors table, right? Let's see if that is going to create. Doctor ID, what did you call it? Doctors. Okay, is attending doctors, sorry, attending doctors. Attending underscore. All right, so that foreign key has been created. Can you see? That foreign key has been created. I will explain everything, just hold on. Who are trying to join in.
Can you please share your screen, sir? It's just started.
My screen is shared now, isn't it?
It just started on my end.
Scattered.
Okay, it's okay now. It's on the spot. It was not moving up and down, so I couldn't see what we were doing.
Oh, okay. All right, so we have created the first one. So the second one would be, let's copy this. Let's reuse our code. Right, so now we are creating the patient ID is a primary key, but it is now a foreign key on the admissions table. So we're altering the admissions table again, and we are adding a foreign key on the patient underscore ID, which is coming from the patient table, the patient ID. Right, so let's just confirm the name of the table now. Patient, is it patient or patients? Patients, patient ID, okay? Patients. Right, so we run this now. That should create as well. Awesome, can you see? Very simple stuff that has created as well. So let's create the last one. The last one is now we are altering the province. Province underscore name table. We're adding a hold on. Okay, okay, we're altering the patient table. We're adding the province name to as a foreign key on the patient's table. Right, so we're altering the patient's table. Right, and this will be province underscore ID. Right, pressing the province, that is, it is coming from the province underscore name. What's the name of the table now? Province underscore names, okay. Right, and what's coming from there? Hold on, get that right. Okay, province ID, all right. So if we run this one too, right, all of that has been created, right? So let us regenerate our schema again to see what it looks like now, right? Let's regenerate this and the what's it called? The ER diagram. Let's regenerate it again to see what it looks like now. Hospital. Execute. Finish. All right, can you see now that they all have the relationship on them now? Can you see? Please let me know if you are following me. So what we do, right? Please cross-check this image with the image you have. If it is correct, if it is not correct, let us alter them, right? Let us alter it. But basically, what we have done is that the doctor's ID, right? Here is a primary key, right? And on the admissions table is a foreign key. I think that is correct. We have the patient ID from the patient's table. Now it's a foreign key on the admissions table as well. So the admissions table has two primary keys coming from both, has two foreign keys, one coming from the patient's table and one coming from the what? From the doctor's table, right? Then we have the last one, which is the province ID, right, being referenced on the patient's table as what? As a foreign key. So we have just 3 relationships amongst this table, right? Can you see? Just 3 relationships amongst this table, right? So let me go back to the code so that you would see. So if you look at it, we have added the values. Now, if we did not add the values, these constraints, right? This constraint would not allow us add. If we didn't create the values first before adding the constraints, these constraint will not allow us add values to the table. So sometimes, right now, listen to me. You can create your foreign key while creating what this person did that is not right. He or she didn't get the way to really reference a table correctly, right? That is what the challenge is here, right? So this person is adding a foreign key directly, which is really good, right? Which is really good. References, it's actually correct, right? But it's this arrangement of the tables is actually one of the challenges, right? So, which is why it did not work, right? So what you have now is that what I do is that I create my tables. When I create my tables, I put my values. When I put my values, I had my constraint afterwards. Now, sometimes I create my tables and I put my foreign key after I've created the tables, or while I'm creating the tables, I create my foreign keys. But you have to what? Disable the foreign keys when you are putting in your values. But you also have to have the mindset that even though the foreign keys have been disabled, you must not duplicate values, right? So you must not duplicate values, right? So you just use this statement, right? So you can see, right? Let's check each of the tables now. There's a challenge. Okay. I've just created the tables. Okay, it's only the tables that I've created. Awesome, right? So we can still edit the code, right? So let me create these indexes. I've not created these indexes, right? I have that index created now. I have this index. This is the composite index here. Sorry, let me run this. So the question 1 is to create indexes on the table, add the right indexes, right? The second index also has been created. Then the third index as well created. Then the fourth index, right? Created as well, right? Then now we say insert into what? Into the doctor's table, right? So we're inserting how many values now? All of this, right? Let's run them, right? All done, right? Let's insert into the admissions table as well. Something is wrong. Okay, sorry. Let me insert into the patient, right? Can you see? Can you see that it is the foreign keys are rejecting values now? Let's create this one, right? So it also did that, right? So the foreign keys are stopping us from inserting values. All right, so we can only insert into one table, right? We can only insert into one table. So doctors, admissions, right? So to solve this, I'm going to say 1 minute, please. Right, I want to set my foreign key to 0. I want to set my foreign key to 0. Yes, set foreign keys checks, right? I'm going to say set underscore foreign underscore key underscore check equals 0. Foreign key sets. All right, so look at this statement here. This statement is used to disabling foreign key. Sorry, it's a comment. right? So I'm disabling my foreign keys. If I run this statement now, it will temporarily disable my foreign keys such that I'm able to insert the tables that I want to insert. So how many of the tables have gone? Only doctors have gone in. So let me try this again. Right, see, the table that was not allowed before has been allowed in now. Right, let's try to insert into this as well. Right, that also inserted in, right? And let's try this one as well. Duplicate entry for NE or key province name primary key. How many NE do you have there? NE. So I'm going to, let me see the structure that you have here. Southeast province. What's our province? Let's see. Province table. The primary key. So if it's a primary key, then it cannot be duplicated. So you have duplicated values on the primary key. Ebube, Ebube, this is your code, though. Are you seeing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, your code is good, but on the province side here, right? So you can't use this kind of what's it called now, province ID. So I'm going to change your province ID on each of them. I'm going to say ABK. I'm going to say AD. I'm going to say, okay, hold on. AB. I'm going to use their initials. I'm going to say PT. Right, that's plate 2. I'm going to say Bauchi BH. Right. Why is plate 2 twice? Let's see. Provinces have to be distinct, right? So I'm going to change some of your provinces to what province do you have here? This is OS. Let's change this to Oshun. Let's change this to OY. Let's change this to ZA. Right? You can see that there are duplicates. That's why it is not ON. Let's change this to RV, Rivers, Onisha, OT. You have Onisha again, so we're going to change that Onisha to IM, Imo. Right, then we have Zaria ZA, and we have Worry WA. Onisha again. Let's change this to ABJ. Turn this to Abuja. Right. We'll turn this Worry to
So the Abuja is has constraint of just 2 characters.
okay. EY on E. Right. Worry again. Let's do Lagos here. LG. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. EY Abuja. OG. Let's call this. Rivers, Ondo, Oyo. Have we done Oyo before? Yes, we've done Oyo before. Kwara, W, Kwara. This is Ondo. We've done Ondo before. What other states is there? Kano, yeah. AN. Okay. Unique here. Rivers, Worry. Worry is, I think we've done Worry somewhere here. Yeah, we've done Worry. What other states is there? Somebody help me out.
Abia.
Abia, thank you. Abia. We call that AI. We've done Rivers. Yes, I think we've done Rivers. So Rivers, change this to what now? Done Ebonyi. What other states do we have? Bayelsa, I think. Have we not done Bayelsa? BL. We've not done Bayelsa. So these are unique. Ogun, Lagos, Onitsha. The two, Bauchi, Imo, Ebonyi, and I think we're good. So let's try it again. Yes. So we have our values. So now our values have entered. So what do I do? Now that I've disabled, I can now enable my what? Enable my constraint again. Copy that. And I set it to 1, right? When you want to enable your constraint, you set this function, foreign key underscore, the foreign underscore key underscore checks, set it to 0 to disable your constraint, your foreign key, then you set it to 1 to enable, right? To enable constraints, right? Set it to 1 to enable constraint. If I run that, constraint is active once again, right? So if we so let's query all these tables, right? Let's query all these tables. Let's check them one after the other. Let's start with this one. This is the doctor's table. So let's say select all from doctors. All right, so these are doctor's table, right? I'm gonna copy that. Let's check on admissions. Select all from admissions. All right, can you see? So let's go to the next one. Province. Patient, sorry. Let's check on the patients table. All right, so you can see the patients now. Right, even though that our value, so what is this now is that our province ID and the province ID in the patients table and the province ID that we used to create. Can you see the discrepancies that usually happen? That's why you have to design your database very well. The province ID in our patients table now does not match with the province ID that we have in the province database. Right? Look at it. Look at the provinces that we have because of the foreign key and duplications, right? Province underscore name. And you see that it is very, very important. What's the name of the table now? Province. Very important for you to pay attention to how you are designing your table, right? Look at the distance that we have now, right? So basically, how do we rectify this error now, right? We would have to edit the states for each of them. or edit the province for each of them so that it can match the province ID, right? At the moment, we cannot join the two tables together because their province ID do not match, right? So that is one of the issues that we have. But this is almost good, right? This is almost very good, right? So this person has really done well to creating that schema, right? There is one more that I want to give you guys, and I'm going to show you, right? That will be our assignment for this week, right? Until you know how to create this perfectly, right? But I know that now that we have attempted it once, right, we can do it now, right? I have one, it's about 10 tables. The schema has about 10 tables, right? So I'm going to drop it immediately after class tomorrow so that we can pay attention to it, right? So that you can get the grip on interpreting AR models, right? Interpreting AR models, right? So it's very, very important. But this is really good, except for what I just pointed out, right? This is really good, except for what I just pointed out, right? Let's look at any question, right? So what I want you to take away from here is look at the way we edited. Where are they now? Look at the way we added the foreign keys, right? Look at the way we added the foreign keys. So if you have issues with your foreign key, right, you can use this method, right, to just copy this method, right? It's basically what you need to know, right? It's basically what you need to know, right? This is how to add your foreign keys, right? This is how to add your foreign keys. This is also add your foreign keys, basically. Any question before I move on? Hey, it's after 8 already, Jesus. Any question before I move on? Any question?
Yes, I have a question, sir.
Please go back. Please go ahead.
Okay, and in this table, because what I did, I created my patient's table first. Are we supposed to, is there anyhow, how do I look at this question? In arranging our table, is there any, because you gave us 4 tables now,
Yes.
is it compulsory that it should be a bit?
Is there supposed to be an order to them?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. The reason why you have an
Come
issues with
first.
the yes, that is because the reason why you have an issues with having orders on them is because you are trying to add the foreign keys directly to the tables while creating them, right? If you look at the schema that I used as an example for you, right, we did not create the tables in any order. We just created the tables. They are not linked at the very beginning. It is here that they are now linked together. Are you following? Now, at this point, right, you want to link them. So you want to understand the linking. You don't just, you see that we didn't just start from job ID, job history, blah, blah, blah. You want to understand which one links to which one links to which one, so that you can link them appropriately. Already in this situation now, all the primary key exists, all the foreign key exists. So you can now begin to link them, right? But you want to understand the one that links better, right? You want to, it would work anyway, right? It would work anyway, but as of course it comes with experience, right? As you work with them continuously, you will now begin to see the structure of how each of them can how this affects this one, how this foreign key needs to be created before this one, and so on and so forth, right? But in terms of the tables do not have to be ordered, right? There's no ordering in the table, in creating the table.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Any other question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, to that.
If after you've created the foreign keys and linked them,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you disable it to like my own data, there was discrepancies. If you correct it back, can you enable it? Like if you correct the discrepancies of the data you filled in, can you,
Yes.
if you enable it, will it actually reflect?
No. So what happens is that it is the Ojoro that we have, right? What it means is that it will only take effect on the data that comes after, not the data that were there before. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? So it will not affect the data that have come early, that have been there before. It will only affect the data that came after it. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. So it means in populating your table, you have to make sure the linking, the foreign IDs are the same, the foreign keys are the same.
Yeah, the foreign keys, yes. You want to make sure that all of them are, there's data consistency. That's basically what you want to do. There's data consistency. Yeah. Can commit this now. And this is permanent. All right. So, any other question before we move on? We've spent. Any other question? I know that a lot of people have challenges with this. Let me show you the next one you're creating, right? So that you know what you're working on, right? The goal is to get good at it. It's not to just be. The goal is to get good at this, right? SQL practice. Sorry. All right, here now. Right, so not wind database schema. Right, so can you see this schema? Can everybody see the schema? This is the next schema. How many tables now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tables. 11 tables. Right, these are next assignments. Right, so I'll share this once we are ready. I'll share it with us. Now, don't think my wala is too much, right? My wala is to make you good, right? It's to make you very good at what you're doing, right? So it's very important to, I've always told you, if you do exactly what I asked you to do and you follow through on the programming, right? Programming is logic. It takes a whole lot of mental capacity and strength for you to be able to deliver on it, right? But take the pain to go through the rigor so that you become good at it, right? I know that some people have not submitted assignments. Some people stopped coming to class. I will catch them. All the people that have stopped coming to class because of SQL, I will catch them. See, some people are just joining now, right? And they've missed a whole lot, right? But that is why we are recording these classes so that you can easily go back to the classes. Madam Susan, Madam Angela, if I catch you, right? So you see that we've talked about a lot of things now that you have missed, right?
Good evening, sir.
Right. So I'm not greeting you.
Please, man.
I'm not
That
answering.
was the traffic.
Right. All right. Good evening. Welcome. Right.
Thank
so the second questions were, let's see, so that we can move on to today's class. We've already eaten up over an hour into this class on the assignment. So generate a report for those who are in the sales department, right? Look at it. Select all from employees. Okay, where department, so this is right. Select all from employees where department ID equals 8, right? Even though you didn't show us how you got that department sales is the department 8, right? But the statement is still correct. Then select all from employees where employee ID in all of this, right? Yes, we did this last class. It says generate a single report of the biodata of the following employees. Now, right, if I'm going to mark you that question, right, you said select all, right? Biodata does not include salary. So what I expected you to do is to do your first name, your last name, your email address, phone number, just the major thing that about the person, basically. It doesn't have to contain every single information about the person because it's still biodata, not the full details, right? So but it's still a good attempt, right? It's still good, right? So everybody, I will score you. I'll give you a straight 85 actually. Did really good. 85, right?
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Really good job. Right. So I would, like I said, I will give everybody I'll go through it for those who have submitted. Right now, you might think that I'm giving this assignment for assignment sake. If you don't do assignments and projects, you won't get your certificates, even though you paid for the program. Right, you won't get your certificates. Right, so please do your assignments. It's very important. I will continue to say it. Do your assignment. I have some people who have done this training with me that have not gotten their certificates today. I'm not the kind of person that will just, you cannot be carrying our certificate around and be writing wrong SQL statements around. And they say, who taught you? And I say, it's me. No, it's not me. No one that taught you. Right. So please attempt your assignment so that you can get your certificate at the end of the day. Right. Make good on them. Your assignment and project, right, is very important. All right. So last class, let's go back to what we did one of the things what we did last class. Last class, I hope I can continue. Please let me know if I can continue. Let me know if I can continue. Let me know. I hope everybody is with me. Let me know if I should continue or if I can continue. Hello, can I continue?
You can continue, sir.
Can continue, sir.
Yes,
I
I
hope
can.
you
Continue,
statement.
sir.
All
Yes,
right.
I can.
All right. We started talking about the DQL statement, which is data query statement, right? I have a list of things that we were supposed to talk about today. All right, we would see how far we can go today. Then we'll continue tomorrow, right? All right. So last class, we started talking about data query language. And inside the data query language, we talked about the fact that data query language centers around the SQL select statement. Centers around the SQL select statement. Basically, right? It's 1 minute. It's 1 minute. I'm back.
We can't hear you, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
please.
we
Thank
can
you.
hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, I didn't notice that. Right, so we said the data query language is the language that we use to send queries to the database, and we get a result for the query that was sent, right? So we have the select statement as the major statement in this part of SQL, right? This SQL select statement. And I mentioned to us last class that the SQL select statement can do three things. It can do projections, it can do selections or restrictions, and it can do joining, right? Who can tell me what projection means? Who can tell me what selection means or restriction means? What do they mean? I mentioned them last class. Who can tell? Anybody? This class is an interactive class, so talk. If you want to answer, please raise up your hand. Let me see. You want to try, right? Anybody? Yay. Hello, can you hear me? Anybody? What do you understand by projection? What do you understand by selection? And what do you understand by projection and selection? When we say you can use SQL statement for projections and selection, what do you think we are talking about? Oh, wow. Nobody's saying anything. Ebuka.
So I think projection can be used to return one or more columns in a select statement.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Who is there now? Who should I call now? Viola, select what is the function of the selection or restriction?
Let me try some.
Okay, please go ahead.
I think projection is more of using graph, Abby.
No, I didn't say prediction. No, I said projection and selection. What do they mean in SQL select statement?
Selection. That means to select data for final for.
To select the time for what?
Let me think about it. I'll come back.
Okay.
I think select statement can be used to retrieve data from a database.
Okay. So we said the select statement can retrieve data from the database. We said it can do three things, right? It can do three things. It can do projections, it can do selection, and it can do joining. And I explained to us last class when we say we use it to do projections. I explained what that means, and I explained when we say we use it to do selection or restriction, right? I also explained what that means. So I'm asking, who can tell? Hey, we're not paying attention to this class, right? And it's touching me. Right, we're not paying attention to this class. All right, I'm going to move on. Okay, somebody who wants, I see one hand up. Okay.
If I may, selection or restriction. For instance, in the use of the HR schema, selection to select certain particular data, maybe about a particular or some employee ID that you want, and then to restrict others from showing. So the others that were selected will not show when you do.
Exactly. It's basically to restrict the result to a particular criteria. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. You see you people, right? To restrict the result to a particular for a particular criteria, right? That's basically what we use. And in that situation, I said what we use to do that is what? Is the where clause, right? Is the where clause, right? So we said that projection is done on the columns. Projection is done on the columns. Basically, when you say you are doing projection, your projection is done on the select list. Right? That after you've issued a select statement, what do? You now list out the columns that you want to return. This is the projection. Right? Look at it. I wrote it here and I sent you the code. See, projection that is returning one or more column in your select statement, right? That is the projection, right? So that is projection. And I told you that restriction, the where clause is used to to restrict rows returned by a query. So when you want to restrict, in this situation now, we did not restrict. We only said select all of these from employees. What happens? It's going to return. And I told you when you do this, right, all the rows are going to be returned. All the rows in your data set are going to be returned, right? But when you want to make the result returned, right, specific for a particular criteria, right, what do we use? We use the where clause, right? And look at it here. You say select all from employees, right? This select all from employees on this database will return 107 rows to you. If I run it, look at it. Okay, sorry, we're not using. Let me use. Let's engage the employees table. Let me use HR. Right. So if I say select all from employees, can you see 107 rows, right? 107 rows. But if I say select all from employees, where employee ID equals 100, what do you see? You only see one single result was returned. One single row is returned. Only one single row is returned. Only one single row is returned. And that is because why? We have a where clause in play. That is because why? We have a where clause in action. We have a where clause in action, right? And I told you in the where clause, we use these logical operators. You're less than, you're greater than, you're less than or equals to, you're greater than or equals to, you're equals to. And I think that these other three, these last three means what's not equals to, right? So we began to look at how to implement business cases last class and so on and so forth, right? So we're going to take it further today. We're going to take it further today. Today, right, we're going to be starting with what we call aliases. Right? How many of us have an alias? Right? Now, if you look at it, aliases, you can name your alias, or you can give aliases are used to give relatable names to column heading or tables, right? We use aliases to give relatable names to column headings or tables. Are you following me? Right? Let's say that let me use a business case that we've generated before. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let me use this business case. So we said what? Generate the employee ID, first name, last name, email address, phone number, salary of all employees in the IT department. Right? Generate the employee ID, first name, last name, email address, phone number, and what salary of all employees in the IT department, right? How do you do this, right? So we can say select, right? select employee ID, employee underscore ID, that's the name of the column, first underscore name, last underscore name, email, phone underscore num, and salary. From what? From employees where depth department underscore ID equals 60, right? If I run this now, I want you to pay attention to the column headings, right? So you can see the column headings. You have employee ID, employee underscore ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, and all of that. So you see those underscores, right? What you see is that these names are developer names. These are names that the developers can relate to, but whoever wants to consume the report, right, might not understand these names, right? Because they do not have the technical what? The technical know-how, right? They don't understand the conventions and the naming conventions that are being applied here, right? So how do we make this report, right, a more excellent report, a more presentable report, right? We introduce aliases, right? Aliases can be introduced in two ways. I hope you're listening. Aliases can be what? Can be introduced. Aliases are introduced by using the optional as keyword or the alias comes just after the column name, right? Let me show you. Let me story. Let me show you. Right. So if I'm going to introduce alias, if I'm going to introduce alias to this analysis now, or to this report, right? Employee ID, right? Not everybody understand that it means identity. So I'm just going to say identity, right? I'm going to say identity. First name, I'm going to say first. I'm going to remove first name. Right, I'll use every possible example here so that you understand it. Right, last name is also called surname. So I'm just going to put surname. Right, I'm going to say email as email address. Phone number as mobile number. And of course, salary. The salary as what? Salary, right? So if you look at it, I said that what? Aliases can be named in two ways. Either by what? Using the as optional keyword, or by just naming the alias, or the alias just comes after what? The column name. So if you look at the case of the employee ID, right? I just put the alias directly. The alias just comes after the employee ID, which is identity, right? I'll tell you why we put it in quotes, right? If you look at it, I put that in quotes, and I did the same thing for that for first name. But if you look at surname, I just said last name, and I said surname, no quotes, right? No quotes. I just type surname. Then I used, for email address, I use the alias, the as optional keyword. The as keyword, that's what we say is optional, is not important, right? It's not necessary. You can create your alias without it, right? That's what we say it is optional, right? So I say email address as this. Email address as this. Phone number as what? Mobile number. And salary as salary. I mean salary space salary. No what? No, what's it called now? No ask keyword. So if we run this statement now, the title of the columns have changed. And that's what aliases are meant for. They are to give the report a more proper presentation. We also use aliases in qualifying the name of the table. We'll talk about that when we get to joining, right? So look at it. Instead of employee ID now, I have identity, I have first name. Now, if you look at it, the ones that I have in quotes, they appeared exactly the way I put them in quotes. Are you following me? The ones that I put in quotes appears exactly the way I put them in quotes, right? Let me do this, right? So that you understand what I'm saying. If I say, right? So let's run this again so that you understand what I'm saying, right? When you put values in quotes, it would appear, can you see? It appeared exactly the way I have it in the quotes. But look at surname, right? Surname, there's no quote around it. Can you see? It came out this same way what it appeared. Look at salary. Salary also appeared the same way I put it. Are you following? Right? So that is how, but this is how to name what? To name aliases. This is how to name aliases. This is how to name aliases. Any question? Right? That is how to name aliases. Any question before I move on? So aliases, you can use alias for anything in your what? In either your select column or your select list or in your from table, right? In your from table. You gotta, so when we are joining two tables together, which we'll talk about later, we'll still talk about aliases as well, right? Because we use alias in the join statement as well, just to qualify ambiguous table names, right? Just to qualify ambiguous table names, right? But basically, you can either specify alias directly afterwards the column name, or you use the as optional keyword, right? I hope you can hear me. All right, having said that, the next thing I want to talk about today, right, is called concatenation. The next thing we want to talk about today is called concatenation, right? And we use this function to manipulate characters. It's basically joins two variables or two values. Let me use two values together. Right? We use it to join two values together. That's concatenation. Concatenation. Right? So if I say, let me show you. If I say select concat, right? The function for concatenation, can you see, is concat, right? The function is concat, right? That's the function. If I say concat, right? I say first name first underscore name, comma, last underscore name. Right? From employees. Look at it. Can you see that the first name and the last name are joined together now, right? The first name and the last name are joined together. I hope you can see the result. The first name and the last name are joined together, right? Steve King, Nikocha, no space in between them. So if I want to put a space, what do I put? Space is a literal. So I'm going to put space in a quote, right? Can you see? I put space in a quote. If you run this now, right, what you have is you are concatenating the first name to space and to last name. Can you see that there's a space in between them now? There's a space in between all of them now, right? There's a space in between all of them. But look at our column names, right? Look at our column name. The column name is as a result. The column got its name got its name from the expression that generated the column, right? This is an expression. This column is a pseudo column, right? It means that this column really does not exist. It is an expression of the concatenation of the first name, the space, and the last name that generated this column. Hence, we call it a pseudo column, right? Now, the question will be that, is this supposed to be the name of the column? Concat first name, double apostrophe, and last name. If anybody sees that and they are not an SQL person, would they understand that? So what do we do to make sure that this looks fine, right? That's where your alias comes in, right? So you can say as what? As full, what's your full name? Right? So if I say full name now, and I run this statement, what happens? You can see the title has changed what to full name. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Please let me know if you are following. Please let me know if you are following.
You're following, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. Right? So that's concatenation. That is concatenation. Right? So you can concatenate, let's take for example, 2, 3. All right. So that's concatenation. Right? Hello, please mute your mic, please. Hello, please mute your mic. Right? Then let's look at another concatenation. Let's look at another concatenation. Right? So I can say that select, right? This is going to stress me a little bit, right? Say select employee underscore ID. Sorry, concatenation. Concat employee ID. The person with the employee ID person with the identity is and he or she is in department and ends monthly. All right, look at this statement, right? I'm going to say, let's call this what? Description. The alias is going to be employees description. Right? That's what we're going to call it, employees description. So if I run this statement now, what do we have? Can you see? Does this make sense? Look at it now. Look at it. The person with the identity 100 is Steven, and he or she is in department 90 and earns 24,000 a month, right? How did I generate this? They are all from the data, but I mix what character literals and the respective columns, right, from the table to generate that. Right, that's the work of concatenation. So it allows you to join not just two variables on the database, you can also join literals to them, literal characters to them. Right, basically literal characters are your general characters, right? So you can add literal characters to the data, right? Please let me know if you understood that.
I don't understand this last part.
Why? What don't you understand there? This is a literal, right? This is a literal. You'll see that there is nothing on the database that tells us about the person with, we're only trying to make sense out of the data, right? So I'm saying that basically what this statement is, select employee ID, first name, department ID, and salary, right? But you want to create a statement from it. So I say the person with the identity. There is nothing like that on the database. Hence, that's why we put it in what? In quotes, right? It's a literal. We call them literal or strings of character, right? So it's a literal, right? So we're adding this literal. If you remember, this is the same thing that we call concatenation. It's the same concatenation that we do in Excel. Either with the concatenate function or with the ampersand sign, right? So you've done this before, right? So this is a literal, right? And we're calling out the employee ID, right? Because this value is in the database. We need that value. Is also a literal, and this is what, right? The name of the person, the first name, and the other values here are also literal. So if you see any value in quotes, they are all literals, meaning that they are only there to embellish the statement or to embellish the query to look like a proper statement, right? So you see that they are not really part of the database. Of course, they are not. They're just introduced literal of the statement. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other question? Any other question? Madam, please talk to me. Sorry. Just seeing your hands raised. Talk to me.
No, I have nothing to you. Asking, we understand. That's why I raised my hand.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You are doing well. Thank you. Right? So if you understood my so far aliases and concatenation, please, I see a show of hands. Awesome.
Can we see your what you just did? I'm copying, I'm writing it down as well. please.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay. All right. Having talked about alias and concatenate, right? We want to talk about other string manipulation functions. We want to talk about other string manipulation functions like length, lower, upper, and so on and so forth, right? We want to see some of these things. All right, let me know if you are done typing this map, so we can continue.
No, I'm almost through. I'm not, please.
All right, all right. Don't worry, we'll be wrapping up very soon, right? Even though today I've spent so much time on solving the assignment, right? But tomorrow, please come early. You get a message to come early tomorrow so that we can start early and cover a lot. Still have a long way to go, right? Even though we are like 15%, we have only about 15% left in SQL, right? We are almost done, but this part that we are is very critical, very critical. So I need you to pay attention and to come early. Thank you. Are we there? Can I continue now?
Please continue, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. So the next thing we want to look at is we want to look at functions like we call them character manipulation functions. Character manipulation functions. Right? These functions are like length, upper, lower, then upper, lower. Which other one is there? I'll check, right? Let me see.
Can you please help me to
Hmm?
Can you please help me to refresh your screen?
My screen is good. It's your network.
I know,
Your
yes,
network.
I know. I've waited for it to change, for it didn't align to you.
Any improvements?
Yes.
All right. So we want to look at character manipulation functions, right? We want to look at character manipulation functions. There's a few of them. I'll remember them as I proceed, right? So if you want to know, take for example, right? Look at this statement that we created here. If I want to know the length of this text for each person, I want to know the length of each of the text for each person. All I just need to do is do a nested function and say length, right? Length, open brackets, close brackets. Right? If I run this now, It will tell me the length of, hold on, sorry. Length concat.
Sir, I can't see what you're doing on the screen. Okay.
Yes, sir, I can see your screen.
The screen is shared. Let me stop sharing and share.
I can see it. Maybe it's why the network. Network.
Let me know if you can see my screen now.
Yes, sir, I can see it.
Okay.
We see the screen, but we don't see what.
Yeah, we can't see what you're typing. That's the.
You can't see my workspace.
Okay, we can see now. Maybe you can close this table that is open. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So let me remove this so that I don't mess this up. Let's talk about length somewhere else. Right. So we say length. If I say select, say business case. Right. I don't know what business case would generate this, but let's do an example. Generate length of each first name, or generate length of the first name of all employees. Right? Generates the length of the first name of all employees. Right? Generates the length of the first name of all employees. I'm going to say select. Right? Now, length is G. Right? This function is the length function. Right? And all I just need to put in between it is what is the first name. Right? From all employees. Can you see? Hold on, let me just put first name so that we can compare. First underscore name and the length of the first name. Can you see? Somebody's mic is not muted. Let me mute your mic, please. Right? So look at this now. So you select first name, then the length of the first name. Can you see? Steven, 6, Nina, 5, Lex, 3, Alexander, 9, and so on and so forth, right? Can you see? Joshua, Jose, Manuel, 11, right? So you can see it will tell you the length of the first name, right? So you can know the length of a particular text, right? Like we have here. If I copy this down now, I want to know what the value is for each word, for each text that we generated there. So we say length, right? If I close this now, all right, so we run this now. It will tell me the length of each word, of each text. Can you see? This text for employee 101, can you see, is 111. All of these characters put together, right, including the values that came with them, is 111 for the first person, right? 198 and so on and so forth. So basically, what you are calculating is the length of T is 1, H is 2, E is 3, then the space is 4, then P is 5, E is 6, R is 7, and so on and so forth. Please let me know if you understood so far and if you are still good to go, right? If you understood the class so far and you're still good to go, right? Remember that my class is not a rushing class. It's not where we need to rush ourselves and not get it, right? So let me know if you understood everything that I've said. Let me know, just raise your hands if you understood everything that I've said so far.
I understood, sir, but I want to ask you.
I can hear you.
So in this length now, that means when the length is being calculated, it's going to calculate both the space and the letters together.
Yes, yes. Space is part of, it's also a character.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right?
So, sir, can you go back to the SQL?
All right. So, how long has this class been going on for now? All right, I think we should put a stop to it today, right? Let's put a stop here. I don't want to rush it. We have a lot to do, but I don't want to over push it as well. Let's put it as a stop here today. So tomorrow we're going to conclude on string functions or string manipulations. We'll talk about math functions. We'll talk about a whole lot of stuff tomorrow. So please, we might have to start early tomorrow, right? I'll look at the schedule and see if possible we can start about 30 minutes earlier. You get the notification to that on the group, right? Tomorrow I will not be taking questions like we did today. That's why I will not be giving us assignment this evening. Just think about what we have done, right? I'll share the code, I'll share the video as well so you can look through, right? So that tomorrow we'll spend little time on questions before the class and we'll just fire down, right? So any question for me before we wrap up this evening? Any question before we wrap up this evening? Any question? Any question before we wrap up this evening? All right. If there are no questions, thank you for coming. God bless you. Please rest well for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be starting a little earlier so that we can